He needs it more, my father declared, sliding the inheritance papers across the mahogany table toward my brother Derek, the family's gastroenterologist who drove a Maserati and owned 3 rental properties in Scottsdale. The candlelight from my mother's carefully arranged centerpiece flickered across documents that transferred my grandmother's entire $2.8 million estate, the house in Napa, the investment portfolio, even her vintage jewelry collection, to my brother, leaving me with nothing but a pat on the shoulder and a sympathetic smile. But as I watched my birthright disappear into Derek's manicured hands, my phone began vibrating with a call that would turn this intimate family betrayal into the most expensive dinner my parents ever hosted. How does one phone call transform a disinherited daughter into the wealthiest person at the table? I sat there in my parents' Marin County dining room, the same chair I'd occupied for 32 years of family dinners, watching my future evaporate. The Williams family home, 6 bedrooms of old California money overlooking the bay, felt smaller than ever, its walls closing in with every scratch of Derek's Mont Blanc pen. Honestly, Gabriella, my mother chirped, refilling her wine glass with the confidence of someone who'd never worked a day in her life, this is for the best. Derek has a family to think about, the twins' private school tuition, Melissa's horses. She waved her hand dismissively, and you're still finding yourself. Finding myself, at 32, with an MIT computer science degree gathering dust while I played with apps, as my father loved to tell his golf buddies. Never mind that I'd spent the last 5 years building something from nothing in a cramped San Francisco apartment, surviving on instant ramen and pure determination. Besides, Derek added, not even looking up from the papers, you've always been more of a free spirit. Money would just complicate your lifestyle. My lifestyle, living in a rent-controlled apartment in the Mission, driving a 2014 Honda Civic, shopping at Trader Joe's instead of Whole Foods, wearing the same black blazer to every family function because it was the only designer piece I owned, a Nordstrom rack find from 3 years ago. Grammy wanted me to have her ring collection, I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. She promised. Promises change, sweetheart, my father said, using his closing argument's voice, the one that had made him millions as a corporate attorney. Your grandmother's estate needs to be managed responsibly. Derek understands investments. Derek, who'd lost $300,000 in crypto last year. Derek, who'd been bailed out of his gambling debts twice. Derek, who was currently hiding an affair from his wife. I'd seen him at a restaurant in Palo Alto last month with someone definitely not Melissa. My phone buzzed against the table. Unknown international number. I almost ignored it, but anything was better than watching my brother initial each page with increasing satisfaction. Excuse me, I said, standing, I need to take this. Of course you do, my mother sighed, always on that phone. This is why we're having family dinner, Gabriella, to be present. I stepped onto the terrace, the bay spread out below like a sheet of dark silk. The November air bit through my blazer as I answered. Ms. Williams, this is James Morrison from Morrison, Tanaka, and Associates in Singapore. I apologize for the late hour, but we've been trying to reach you all day. My stomach dropped. The Singapore deal. In the chaos of family dinner, I'd completely forgotten we were supposed to hear today. I have extraordinary news, James continued, his British accent crisp despite the distance. The acquisition is complete. Technova's purchase of your company, Neuralink Systems, has closed at the agreed price. The number hit me like a physical force, $847 million. The funds have been transferred to your accounts, James went on, apparently oblivious to my stunned silence. After capital gains and investor payouts, your personal net worth now stands at approximately $523 million. The remaining $324 million has been distributed to your team as per your equity sharing agreement. Congratulations, Ms. Williams. You've just become one of the youngest self-made billionaires in tech history. Through the French doors, I could see my family laughing at something Derek had said. My mother was pouring more wine, my father clapping Derek on the shoulder. The inheritance papers were stacked neatly, signed and witnessed. Ms. Williams, are you there? Yes, I managed, thank you, James. I'll call you tomorrow to discuss the transition. Of course. Oh, and CNN, Forbes, and the Wall Street Journal have all requested interviews. Shall I forward their contacts? Tomorrow, I repeated, thank you. I ended the call and stood there, looking at my reflection in the dark glass. Same black blazer, same stubborn chin I'd inherited from Grammy, same person who'd been deemed too irresponsible for a family inheritance. But now worth more than my parents' house, Derek's medical practice, And the entire inheritance combined, times 50. I walked back inside, slipping my phone into my pocket. "Everything all right, dear?" my mother asked, not really caring about the answer. "You look pale." "Just work stuff," I said, sitting back down. "Still playing with computers?" Derek smirked. "You know, there's an opening in our billing department. It's entry level, but..." "That's kind of you," I interrupted, reaching for my water glass. "But I'm good." "Are you, though?" My father leaned back, lawyer mode activated. "Gabriella, you're 32, living paycheck to paycheck. No savings, no property, no real career trajectory. We're doing this," he gestured to the papers, "because we love you. Sometimes love means making hard choices." "I understand," I said. And I did. I understood that they'd never seen me as anything more than the family disappointment. The daughter who'd dropped out of her pre-med program to study computers, who'd turned down a position at Derek's hospital to work at a startup, who'd chosen possibility over security. "Since we're talking about hard choices," I said, setting down my glass, "I should probably mention I'm moving." Finally, my mother exhaled. "That awful neighborhood. Where are you looking?" "I can ask Linda about rentals in Singapore, actually, maybe London, haven't decided." Silence descended on the table like fog. "What are you talking about?" Derek asked. "My company was acquired today, by Technova. You might have heard of them. They just launched that satellite network everyone's talking about." My father's fork paused halfway to his mouth. "The negotiations have been ongoing for 6 months," I continued, buttering my roll with careful precision. "We developed an AI system that can predict and prevent cyber attacks before they happen. Turns out, that's quite valuable." "How valuable?" Derek's voice had lost its smugness. $847 million valuable. My mother's wine glass hit the table. Merlot spread across Grammy's Irish linen tablecloth like blood. That's impossible," my father stammered. "You don't have that kind of money. You borrowed $50 for gas last month." "Because I'd liquidated everything to keep my team paid through negotiations," I explained. "Every cent I had was tied up in escrow." "But that call?" "That was my lawyers confirming the wire transfer." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and slid it across the table. The number was there in black and white, more digits than the app was designed to display elegantly. Derek grabbed the phone, his face cycling through disbelief, anger, and something that looked remarkably like fear. "This has to be a mistake," he said, "or a scam. Nobody becomes a billionaire overnight." "Not overnight," I corrected. 5 years, 60-hour weeks, 4 pivots, 2 near bankruptcies, 1 breakthrough that changed everything." "But you never said anything," my mother whispered. "At Christmas, at Easter, you just sat there while you lectured me about responsibility, while you compared me to Derek, while you told everyone I was wasting my potential." I kept my voice level, calm. "Yes, I sat there, because I learned a long time ago that this family only values success that looks a certain way, Derek's way." "That's not true," my father protested, but his eyes were fixed on my phone screen. "Isn't it?" I stood, straightening my blazer. "You just gave away my inheritance because Derek needs it more, because he has the right job, the right house, the right life, because I'm just playing with computers." "Gabriella, sit down," my mother pleaded. "Let's discuss this rationally. Like you discussed giving away Grammy's entire estate? Like that rational discussion where I wasn't even consulted?" I looked at the inheritance papers, then at my brother. "You know what? Keep it. Keep the house in Napa where I spent every summer. Keep the portfolio Grammy built teaching me about compound interest. Keep her ring collection, including the Art Deco sapphire she wore to her wedding, the one she said would be mine someday." My voice cracked slightly on that last part. "Of everything, losing Grammy's rings hurt the most. But know this," I continued, "that $2.8 million you thought was too much for me to handle? I make that in interest in about 12 days now. That house you're inheriting, I could buy the entire neighborhood, cash." "You're being dramatic," Derek said, but his hands were shaking. "Am I?" I pulled out my phone again. "Should I call my real estate agent? She's been sending me listings in Napa all week. There's a beautiful vineyard for sale right next to Grammy's house, 40 acres. They're asking $15 million, but I think I could get it for 12. "You wouldn't," my mother gasped. "Why not?" "Apparently, I need to learn about investments. What better way than buying the property next to my brother's inheritance?" The room was silent except for the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway, another heirloom I'd just lost. "This isn't about money," my father finally said. his voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. This is about family. No, I said, picking up my purse. Family would have asked why their daughter was working 18-hour days. Family would have wondered why I was so thin last year. It was because I was living on one meal a day to fund server costs. Family would have celebrated the small wins along the way instead of only seeing the failures. I walked to the door, then paused. You want to know the ironic part? I was going to surprise you tonight. I had a whole speech planned about how I'd finally made it. How you could stop worrying about me. I even brought papers of my own. From my purse, I pulled out a folder and set it on the side table. Debt forgiveness documents for your mortgage, Derek's student loans, and the helic you took out last year, Dad. About $1. $3 million total. I was going to make you all debt-free, tonight, as a thank you for putting up with your disappointment of a daughter. My mother was crying now, mascara running in black rivers down her cheeks. But I guess you don't need it, I said. After all, Derek has Grammy's portfolio now. I'm sure that'll cover everything. Gabriella, please. Derek stood, his face red. Don't leave like this. Like what? Like someone who just found out her family's love comes with a price tag? Like someone who learned she's worth nothing to you without a medical degree and a country club membership? I opened the door to find Marcus, my driver, waiting with the Tesla. I'd texted him from the terrace, my one indulgence in the past 6 months, hired just this week. Gabby, my father's voice cracked as he called after me, you're still our daughter. I turned back one last time, memorizing their faces, 3 people who'd shaped my life through their disappointment, who'd driven me to prove something that, in the end, I'd only needed to prove to myself. No, I said quietly, I'm Grammy's granddaughter, the one who inherited her real gift, the ability to build something from nothing. She'd understand why I can't stay. As Marcus opened the car door, I remembered Grammy's last words to me, whispered in her hospital room while the others argued about treatment costs in the hallway. Don't let them dim your light, baby girl. Some diamonds are made under pressure. Where to? Ms. Williams? Marcus asked as we pulled away from my childhood home. I looked back at the house, warm light spilling from the dining room windows, and made a decision that had been building for years. The St. Regis, I said, and please call the concierge. I'll need their best suite for the next month while I house hunt. Of course. Any particular neighborhood? I smiled, thinking of Grammy's house in Napa, of the vineyard next door with its rolling hills and perfect sunrise views. Actually, yes, I said, I'm thinking wine country. I hear the neighborhood is lovely, very family-friendly. As we drove through the Marin Hills toward the city, my phone exploded with notifications. CNN, TechCrunch, investors, competitors, the news was out. Tomorrow, I'd be on every tech blog in the world. But tonight? Tonight I was just a girl without a family inheritance, driving away from the only home she'd ever known, with nothing but $847 million and the absolute certainty that Grammy would have been proud. Sometimes the best inheritance isn't what they leave you. It's what they teach you to build for yourself.